Spirit Switchboard, airing live on the United Public Radio Network, 105.3, New Orleans. Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining me here on Spirit Switchboard. You are listening to us live on 105.3 and 107.7 New Orleans, the United Public Radio Network, and the UFO Paranormal Radio Network. Today, I'm super excited, and we threw a curveball to my guest today and added someone extra special in as well too. So we have Rick and Kate Schreck, and you may know them from the world's largest Ouija board, the House of Schreck, House of 1,000 Tattoos. They've been called the Real Life Addams Family, and they are joining us here today. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having us.
Thanks for having us on.
Oh my goodness. I know it's a sticky point, Ouija boards for some people, but I have loved them from the time I was small. When Spirit Switchboard started, I knew I wanted you on one way or another. And there was a lot of emails going back and forth because you guys were super busy at the time. You had a lot going on. And I know that you've had a really crazy week. So thank you for, making the time to join me today.
No problem.
I'm just going to put up this for you to see. Ian Lovecraft is saying Rick is amazing. He showed me all around Jersey when I was out there for work.
Yeah, I brought him over to a gravestone in a movie theater. There's somebody buried in a movie theater by us that's kind of like a local legend. It's pretty cool.
Oh, super fun. So I know as a kid, all of this, my sister tells everyone that she's 7 years younger than me. So I was reading her bedtime stories like Pet Sematary and anything Stephen King. So she's like, that is why she is scared of some of the things that she is now. But it was always an interest for me. So how, for you, was that same interest there from the time that you were small? Things that are a little more macabre, a little more dark?
I never saw things as dark or light. When I was a little kid, my mom, I had young parents. I have young parents. Yeah. And when I was a little kid, my mom and dad loved horror movies. They loved going to the movies on Friday night. And a lot of times they would leave me and my two brothers with a babysitter. And they would come home and tell us about the movie they just saw. And I would get so excited hearing about it. When can I go? When am I old enough to come with you guys? And my parents would start bringing me to see movies. And I was raised on Friday the 13th and The Shining and Halloween, all that.
Yeah. It's so funny when I had an opportunity to meet Kane Hodder, and everybody laughed at me because I was so excited, and they're like, I originally wanted to connect with him about ghost investigations and all that kind of stuff. And I'm like, I that's what I was so excited about. And they said, what did you do? And I said, I asked him to put me in a chokehold. That's all I wanted, was to have that experience. Right. And I think, for my children, just like you, this sort of interest in horror movies and it was normal in our house. And I mean, I've been able to see people that are crossed over from the time I was little. So for them, they've had their own experiences as children. And so as adults now, all of this stuff is just normal for us. There's nothing out of the ordinary, really, for any of it. That's what I thought.
It's just play and pretend,
Yeah, it's happening.
Horror movies, there's something wrong with you. You're like, it's no different than reading a scary book.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. And not looking, I find sometimes people will look at you like you have 8 heads when you're laughing at a moment they think is inappropriate. You know what I mean? And it's not. There was so much that I wanted to talk to you about. And I'm glad, Kate, like you guys do so much as family. If this isn't just, you know, Rick's journey, this is a family journey.
Yeah.
Totally.
Can you talk about you know, how this has evolved over time, you know, where it started and how it's grown?
It's great. We were just talking about movies. I grew up watching Disney movies, so I didn't even know those horror movies existed. So
really,
not until I met Rick, you know, I was like, oh my, I loved it, you know, from the moment he showed me them. But yeah, I mean, it's just we were just talking about on the way to the shop today, like just how much we've done and just, you know, it's crazy. It's just being ourselves, you know, and people like to see, you know, us be weird and
and that's it. You know, when I was talking to my son today about how excited I was for this interview, I said it feels like I'm with my peeps, because it's just you guys have that sense of wonder and a sense of play, and that's how we should like be every day. Like every day it should be like a sense of play and a sense of wonder, and leaning into that. And sometimes you just don't know what kind of experience you'll have unless you lean into some places where you're uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Sometimes you have to be a little uncomfortable and see what comes out of it, right?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So Ouijazilla, let's start there.
Okay.
Concept, how did that pop into your head?
Well,
what prompted it?
Yeah, I'm vice president of Talking Board Historical Society, as you may know, which is a recognized 501c3 nonprofit. It was started by Robert Murch, who is like the ultimate warrior for Ouija boards. Like nobody knows more than him, and he's one of my best friends. Yeah, and when we started this with a small group of Ouija collectors, we're all tight, we're all friends, and we were getting into it. And Murch would talk to me all the time whenever I would do a new project, and it would evolve. Sometimes I started out doing my own Ouija boards in 2004, and I was making what was called the Schreck Dark Ouija. I wanted to be all creepy and spooky, you know, and I was doing that for a little bit, splintered off into some other funny things. Like back then I did a thing called Ouija, like a marijuana board, and I came up with it as a fun novelty, and then shortly thereafter, you know, I ended up in recovery. I didn't want anything to do with weed no more. So I was like, I wanted to separate my name from the marijuana thing. So I stopped making the Ouija board. And coincidentally, another one came out of New Jersey right when I stopped doing them. And they probably made a fortune. Whatever. So I was on to other things. You know, I didn't want to be on that no more. So I bought a hearse, and I converted the back of my hearse to become a 6-foot Ouija board that you pulled out of the back.
I just love it so much.
It's traveling Ouija board. So when I did that, I would say to Kate, wow, this is the biggest Ouija board I ever made. It's 6 feet. And she's like, you know, are you going to do something for Halloween? Maybe we'll do something for the house. And we had come up with an idea to make a Ouija board to hang on the front of the house with a planchette that moved in the wind. So it would just rock back and forth. And I called Murch on the phone. I was talking to him about it. I said, yeah, I'm going to make this big thing. It's going to be creepy. And maybe when the planchette moves back and forth in the wind, it'll creak, like just a creaky haunted door. And he was like, why don't you put light bulbs in it and somehow hook it up to like your cell phone, make an answer, like in Stranger Things where they did the Christmas lights on the wall. Yeah. And I'm like, Murch, I'm an artist, man. I'm not an electrician. I don't know how to do that kind of stuff. He said, well, it'd be neat if you did. So it was like challenge accepted. I figured out how to wire them one at a time with dollar store night lights. So I drilled all these holes and I bought night lights at the dollar store. Wired the whole thing with extension cords from Walmart.
What a mess.
Yeah, like totally non-electrician type of job, but it worked.
Right. That's what happens when we have those big ideas. When we have these big ideas, that, it won't be so. And then you get in the middle of it. It's like, oh my Lord, what did we agree to do?
Yeah, so I made a keyboard replica of the board. It's hanging on the wall here. That's
it's actually we're looking at it.
But I made a keyboard replica of it, so we would sit behind it in my porch. And we set up a microphone in the front yard. So kids would come up to the house and they would stand at the planchette and ask the house questions. And we would be back there punching in answers on the keyboard. And even my next door neighbor was freaking out. He goes, "What do you have that hooked up to Google Answers? Like, how is it answering everybody so quick and in a clever way?" I'm like, "There's somebody in there punching the answers." You know, so we went from that to one day I'm on the phone with Merch and I said, "What am I gonna do next, dude? Like, how am I gonna go bigger than putting one on the front of my house?" And he said, "Why don't you make the biggest one in the world? You know, there's a dude down in Pennsylvania that had one painted on the roof that they were calling the biggest one in the world." He goes, "Why don't you make a real one? Make one out of wood." You know, and I said, "If I had the money, I could, but I don't have that kind of money. Plywood's expensive." And coincidentally, I tattoo a good friend of mine, Greg. He works for a giant shipping company, Trans-American, and he said to me, "How much more would you need?" And I'm like, "I don't know, like 100 panels." And he said, "That's it." And they donated the wood, and the rest was history. That's how it came to be.
Well, and that's what it is. It's a community. Like those, you end up attracting those like-minded people that are going to support the idea, right? And
oh
yeah, and that's brilliant. Can you explain to people how it was broke down? Like it's actually panels, right?
Yeah.
Like
yes. Well, yeah, it took a small village to make that thing happen. Like I get credit for doing it myself, but it was my idea, and I painted it over a year and a half in the garage. Everything else, I needed help. There was a lot going on.
And my favorite part is like he didn't see it put together until we put it together in Salem.
Yeah,
I saw an interview that you did, and that's what you said. Like you were excited about putting it together because it would have been the first time that you had saw it all together.
Big check. It was just too big. We had 21 panels out in our parking lot here just to see if we can get the letters to line up. And that picture goes around on the internet a lot. It's Kate standing on it. One guy from a religious thing called her the face of evil. He's like, "This is the face of evil." So she's really happy about that.
Right.
But yeah, there's 300 2x4s underneath and a frame. So we just made a frame. We framed every single panel out so it wouldn't, go into the ground there, because we set it up on a hill. And we almost had to level the ground with sandbags, but that would have took us a week.
Yeah.
We didn't have that much time. So
how long did you have to put together? Like how long, how much time did they give you?
I think we got there on a Friday, right?
We started Wednesday, and then the day was Saturday. So it was really Wednesday to Friday, and you were still doing different things on Saturday morning.
We got there Wednesday. We didn't do anything. We just unloaded.
No, we got there Monday or Tuesday, I think it was.
Huh? Was there for a week?
No, the Wednesday before Saturday. So
okay.
The 12th, but that Tuesday, I think I got there.
Yeah, it took like a day and a half straight to assemble the whole thing. We're like, I don't know, anywhere from 10 to 15 people. Like people just kept volunteering to help. Yeah. And whoever was there and willing to use a screwdriver, we just threw them out there. And anybody that wanted help, we had all these cool shirts printed. Yeah. Nor'easter. It was a nor'easter. It was a major storm. And we were carrying those 70-pound panels of plywood in high winds. It was not fun. Yeah, I almost quit 100 times. He was
about ready to quit.
Yeah.
And, you had a lot of people just be like, "Come on, it's Saturday was supposed to be a nice day. So if we could just get to Saturday, it would have been okay."
Yeah, giant puddles. Push brooms, pushing all the puddles off the board. It was crazy.
Oh, and so, but the response, I mean, it really did take the internet by storm.
Yeah, I didn't know it was going to do that. I honestly didn't. I thought it would be a photo that everybody shared, and when I was on the phone, because there's a whole thing with Guinness. You probably noticed I don't have the world record. I don't have the Guinness World Record. They don't even recognize it. Ripley's did. So when I was on the phone with Guinness, I told I guess it's a salesperson who calls you. I told them with or without you guys, the world's going to know what I did. And she's like, "Wow, you're awfully ambitious." I said, "Because I know what I did. You didn't see it yet."
Yeah.
But
because it's your truth.
Yeah, because it was for Guinness, they'll help you and put you in their record book, but you got to do all the work, and it could take like up to a year. They make you wait like 20 weeks or something to answer your email, or you just keep throwing money at them and they help you quicker. And the money that was being asked of me was just, I thought was unreasonable. And I was like, I'm not going to go for world record with them. It's sad because I always wanted to have a Guinness World Record, but I just didn't want to fork over that money,
And I mean, in a way you have it, and you have it in a way that feels done in alignment with who you are. It's still staying true to who you are, and that's what matters the most, right?
Yeah. Certificate or not, Ouijazilla is undeniable.
Yeah, and the photo of you guys standing inside the planchette, I think, is my favorite.
Yeah, that's really cool.
Cool.
It is. It's super cool. Like as a family, you've created all of these brilliant memories too, right?
We stayed in an RV. Wow, we actually drove down in an RV. We even brought our 2 dogs and our tortoise.
That's awesome.
Big tortoise. A big giant tortoise that was in the shower in the trailer.
But,
really, eh?
12 days.
And in the yucky weather.
Yeah.
On the beach.
We actually stayed in Winter Island, which is just off of over by Salem.
Yeah.
And but the next morning there was like boats that were like brought up on land because of the strong winds. The
storm was so bad that boats were up on the beach, and we were trying to sleep at night as the thing was rocking. And I'm like, this is going to go over. This is going to go over. And all the other people that were at the camping grounds were evacuated, but I had to stay there to protect my baby, so we weren't going nowhere. It was scary though. Sitting on the beach in the nor'easter in a camper was scary.
Yeah, and now it's just a cool story you get to tell on all the podcasts.
Yeah.
Which is brilliant. So Kim is just responding to your story about creating the Ouijazilla and saying so cool and super wow. And I just want to take a moment to say hello to Howie and Heather and Kurt, Barb, all those people that are joining in on the conversation with us right now.
Mm-hmm. Hello.
I feel like I'm in Magic Garden where they're like, I see Michael and Joey.
Exactly. Except they never said Kerrilynn ever. It was a name that never came up, and I waited every week. We're gonna stick this in here too because it's worth the shout out, right? Look.
That's my brother.
Hey Tony.
What's up, Tony?
House of 1,000 Tattoos #1. There you go. So some of the people, when you look through the photos, it's like Dustin Perry, Tim Bradshaw, Patty Negre, all of these people that were checking it out. Jeff Belanger, like all of these people checking out the Ouijazilla.
Jeff drove all the way there just to see us.
Yeah, he did.
He's a great dude.
Yeah, he's coming on the show actually in December, so it's going to be great to have. Yeah, I agree. And again, that sense of wonder and storytelling and having fun, right? Having fun with it. And so that must feel good too, right? Like it counteracts any pushback that you may get. It takes a lot to have a tough skin and ignore, laughing at when you have the evil face. And I mean, I've gotten that same thing just for being me, right? Just for saying that this is what I do. And, that kind of comes at you, but then you get all of the fans like me and all of the people that support you is brilliant. I wanted to ask you about, actually Robert Murch and Nick Groff and the board that they used at the Sally House. The board and the planchette. Can we talk about that?
The one that they used on Deathwalker?
Yes.
That one? Yeah. Yes. So they're both really good friends of mine. And before that episode, they were like, do you have any cool things that you made that we can use in the house? And Murch already had that Ouija board. That was a board I made out of a Gleason embalming table. It's an antique embalming table. The woods had a lot of deceased bodies on it, and I thought it was clever to mess around with that wood. I started calling it Deadwoods, because my old partner Jill here, her family owns an exotic hardwoods company. So I go, I'm working with exotic deadwoods, which I thought was clever. And Murch had that board because there were only 2 made of that table. It was destroyed. So I have the other one here at the tattoo shop. And it's 100-something-year-old embalming table. And the planchette I made special for that episode because they wanted something that was really, spooky-ish. So I had a box of human shoulder blades, and I just drilled a hole in one and I made it look real witchy. I put like all just random things on there, like pieces of gold and jewelry and stuff. But I did it to make it look almost like an old gypsy type of planchette.
Right.
And that's what they used for that episode. I have a thing in my house that I call the most dangerous planchettes in the world. And I made them out of like the creepiest stuff I really could find. A lot of stuff connected to deceased. One's a human skull. The base of your skull where your
occipital bone.
Yeah, so yeah, in the back there. So I just flipped it upside down, and it had an eye hole for a viewfinder. So I flipped over the skull, and I had that perfect shape of a planchette. So I made that into one. I have one made out of moldavite, which a lot of people are superstitious about that. It's a tektite that's formed by when meteors hit the Earth, and it makes this green glass. A lot of people are superstitious about that.
I didn't know that people were superstitious about that.
Oh, super superstitious. They think that if you put that on, your life is just going to be turned upside down immediately. Like there's real lot of superstition about it.
Where does that fear come from?
Not in a bad way. It doesn't have to be turned upside down in a bad way. It could be in a
positive or negative, but there's huge changes.
Huge
people
changes.
Claim,
yeah, it's supposed to bring change.
Mm-hmm. Interesting. Yeah, I had no idea. The planchette that I tend to use is epoxy that I got to choose what I wanted in it as far as the crystals or the stuff that that was all in it. So I mean, I didn't.
That's cool.
Yeah, it was fun, and definitely about the intention. So do people ever ask you about that? If it's an embalming table, and wood, all of those things can hold energy attached to that time period or those people. So does it affect how the board works in a different location, or can it trigger things? What kind of response, or do you get the responses?
No,
around you haven't really used it.
I was kind of hoping on that. I was kind of hoping bringing all these things into my house and altering them for like spirit communication would open some kind of vortex in my house, or maybe even make my house haunted. And it hasn't been working to my satisfaction yet.
I mean,
Kate will tell you.
But I mean, for the board, when they used it on Deathwalker, did it? Yeah.
It seems to work.
Yeah. Then it broke. It broke. Yeah. I was like, oh, the leg came off. Yeah.
Even Merch seemed like he was just like.
Spooked. Yeah, he freaked out.
He seemed a little spooked, which it's hard to spook him.
One thing about those guys, neither one of them are fake. So when we were watching an episode, and like especially Merch was getting all nervous. And he was stuck in that chair because he just had pec surgery, so he couldn't run around.
Yeah.
So he's stuck in that chair, and he's like, Nick, I hear stuff in the kitchen, and like he was freaking out. It was really funny. We were laughing so hard.
Yeah.
But that's the point, is to try to have a personal experience. Like really, in the end, that's the point, is to have a personal experience.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I would love it. We had an experience one time. You ever hear of Centralia, Pennsylvania?
No.
Right,
I'm from Northern Ontario, so
well,
I'm not well traveled.
It's pretty famous. If you ever saw the movie Silent Hill or played the video game Silent Hill, it's a video game made into a movie about a town that was burned to the ground. It was a mining town. Well, it was based off of the city of Centralia in Pennsylvania. There's actually a coal mining town that they were burning garbage, and the garbage fire got out of control, and the coal vein caught fire underneath the city. And it went completely under everybody's houses, under the highway, under everything.
In the 40s, I think, right?
No, in the 70s.
70s?
And it's been burning ever since. And they've had to evacuate the city because the highway was beginning to ripple from the heat. And giant pockets were opening up in the earth from the coal burning out. And there were giant sinkholes that were on fire. So they were telling people they had to get out of there. And there were some people that stayed. There's still, I think, one family that still lives there to this day. But Pennsylvania revoked their zip code to get everybody out of there. They don't even get mail. And they're still there. There are people still there. So we used to like going there a lot. We would go there, and you could go on the abandoned highway. You could see where the houses used to be.
They called it Graffiti Road.
Graffiti Road. And we would drive our Suburban there and just sit around and like pick through the rubble of the rocks there, because there's like cool fossils and stuff we would find. So we like going there all the time. There's an antique store on the way there. It's like the only one for miles. and it's probably not there anymore because they were selling the house.
Yeah, last time we were there, they asked if we wanted to buy it.
Right. Well, there's a very old and kind woman that worked there, and I used to always go in there and talk to her, and I'd ask her about Ouija boards and stuff, and she goes, "Nope, not in this house." And I go, "Everybody says that," and she goes, "No, this one's haunted, honey." And I'm like, "Oh, okay, I've heard that before." She goes, "Do you want to see?" And I'm like, yeah. So
that's pretty confident.
Yeah. So she was in there, and she had to be in her 80s, right? So she brings us into this room where she had toys, and there was like dolls all piled up against the wall, like 8 feet high, just all these dolls, stuffed animals and dolls. And we had to move them all out of the way because she buried the door. You didn't know there was a door there. So she moved all these dolls out, and we opened the door, and we go in this.
Slid the door open.
Yeah, it was a bathroom.
Yeah.
It was an old bathroom that she doesn't use. And she goes, "Go ahead, go in there." And we walked in there, and it was crazy. The room was like ice cold. You know, it was summertime.
It was cold, and it was like the air was really still. And I'm like, oh, it's just because they have it boarded up.
Just nobody uses it. Yeah.
You're trying to make logic of it, but you want it to be ghosts or something. But
yeah,
Yeah. So she said, "Did you ever use a pendulum or anything before? Do you know how to use a pendulum?" And I go, "Kate plays with that all the time." So you took a necklace. You had a gem?
I usually always have my pendulum on me, and I didn't have it I think I changed bags or something. But Winter, she had a necklace with a skeleton key on it, so I just used that.
That's very
and
cute.
Yeah, it was the skeleton key from Paul's
Barn. And it worked for her, but it worked in a way that I really wish I was filming it. It like defied physics. You know, like when something's swinging back and forth, if it's going to change direction, you need a few swings in between. But I was watching this thing change direction in her hand that it wasn't possible.
Yeah.
It was kind of weird, man. And it was the first time it ever made me a bit of a believer in that haunted house stuff, because I've never seen anything other than that. That was pretty amazing.
Yeah, it was a cool feeling.
Do you think it was the stuff that she had? It's the land, all of it? Like,
I'm not sure. She just said that she has a ghost there.
Yeah, and when we were in there, her husband had come home, or he came back from wherever he was, and he walked through the door, and he's like, "Honey, where are you?" He goes, "You're not showing people the ghost again, are you?" And I was like, "Wow, that's pretty fun." Yeah.
They lived upstairs, and like the whole bottom was like an antique store that they were selling.
Right.
So
so we had to buy a bunch of dolls from that room, of course.
Yeah. So I have a bunch of dolls, and I actually keep them in my hearse.
So, but the dolls, nothing came home from that house with the dolls.
Nothing
that we've like noticed, but we're so busy. We don't really sit down and do the EVPs and do the Ouija board and stuff because we're just going all the time. So who knows?
I mean, so I brought home a couple of supposed haunted dolls as well too. I've got all kinds of stuff in and I talk to dead people every day for a living, so, and I don't have anything like, when I walk out of the office, we don't have a whole lot of stuff. Like it's just like a regular house, the dogs, kids, grandkid. Right. It's just, we don't have, so I don't know if it's not putting the intention into it and not poking it either. Like I don't know, but we don't have stuff.
We did have something happen the other day. Well, it was probably a couple months already by now with Winter. So that happened randomly. Like we were
So a lot of stuff, when we were farting around, taking pictures, trying to ghost hunt and do all that fun stuff in the house, you're looking for it. But it's better when you're not looking for it and things.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yes.
And my daughter Winter, she's my firstborn daughter, and she's connected to me in the bathroom department. Every time I have to go to the bathroom, that kid is in the bathroom.
They're like on the same schedule for some reason.
So one night, we go to bed pretty late. So we don't get out of here usually at midnight, 1 a.m. We're here at the shop pretty late. And Kate and I, we're constantly talking all day and all night. Like we're best friends, and Kate's laying on bed, and I was chatting with her about something we had to do. And I got up to walk out my bedroom, and the bathroom door is right there, right next to my bedroom door. So I'm talking to Kate, and I went to go out of the bedroom, and Winter walked by, and she had her head down, like she was looking at the ground.
And she has real long hair.
Yeah, her hair's super long, and her hair was all down, like almost like the girl from, you know, in the movie The Ring, Samara, looked like that. So she had really long hair. It was down, and she had her fists were clenched, and she was stamping her feet like she was really angry. And she's like, and she walked past me, stomping her feet and clenching her fists. And I look, and I was like, okay, I'm used to that. I'm used to her cutting me off to go to the bathroom. So I went back to talking to Kate. Now, I never even said anything about Winter. I was talking.
I was probably on my phone or something, and then I just figured he went to the bathroom.
Yeah. So I noticed she went past me, and I went right back to chatting, and we're talking for another 5 minutes, and I'm like, I can't wait anymore. So I walk out of the bedroom again, and I'm standing there, and I'm looking in the bathroom, and she's going, don't tell me there's nobody in there. There was nobody in there.
There was nobody in there.
Winter, she was a bunk bed. She was up in her bed.
I got out of bed and I went in the room, and Winter was sound asleep in her bunk bed. So there was no way that she could have been there fast, because she had to go up the ladder. It's a whole process.
That's kind of weird. I mean, it wasn't ghosty, but it was. I saw my own kid.
And then so the next day, I told Winter, and she was just like, she said she had a dream that she was flying.
Interesting.
So, you know, we were like, oh, is that like, was it astral projection, or, you know, just some kind of connection there? It was really weird. Like, and we both saw her. Like, it was just...
I didn't say, oh, did you just see Winter? I go, I went over there. She goes, don't tell me there's nobody in there. I go, what did you see? She goes, Winter just went in the bathroom. I'm like, no, she didn't.
Before he told me what he saw, he asked me what I saw. It was really just like, wow.
That was pretty cool.
Yeah. So,
yeah. And it's super cool that you both witnessed it.
Right.
Yeah, that's what I thought was amazing about it. Was she saw it, and I saw.
It just flowed, like it was just you can't make that up.
No, and clearly something, like if she was astral traveling or having that experience, you know, that it happened once. If it was something that was a little more malevolent, that was out to get your attention, that stuff would be happening a little more consistently and to get your attention. I think we've had a couple of knocks on the walls, and you know, when my daughter was away at university, she'd come home, she had fairy lights stuck up in her room, and the lights with no battery in it would go light up, because whatever that spirit was that was in her space was always excited when she would get home. But it was always when my daughter would come home from university for the weekend, and the rest of the time it stayed quiet. So you know, that was the fun of it. But again, that stuff didn't feel creepy or out of the, or like we weren't too freaked out about it. You know, we would just be like, okay, she would get to the door and she'd go, hey, I'm home for the weekend. You're not allowed to touch me when I'm sleeping. You're not allowed to do this. She'd like, you know, she'd set up these guidelines and rules to what was going to happen. And they paid attention, you know, like, I don't know if it was just enough that she said, you know, hey, I'm home for the weekend. Nice to see you, but don't touch me. You know, they just wanted that little bit of recognition, and that was it.
That's pretty
cool.
You know, my daughter Winter, there were times when she was little and she'd be afraid of the dark. She would tell me she hears things, she sees things, and so trying to find something to soothe her, I just invented this. I told her, you know, there's over 100 Ouija boards hanging all over the walls in the house. I told her, I go, look, if you ever believe there's a ghost or anything in your room, if you command it to go to the Ouija boards, it has to listen to you. So she just started doing it. She's like, go into the Ouija boards. You have to listen to me. And she's like, Dad, they're gone. Like, I was like, cool.
Yeah, exactly. Jody is just sharing. I used to give rules when I was younger because I was scared. And that's, you know, when I used to do hair. Like I used to be a hairstylist. That's what I used to do. So like it was 17 years ago when I started doing what I'm doing now full time. And when I started, it was for supporting kids that were intuitive. Like the first podcast show that I had was for parenting kids that were intuitive. And it was like the first workshops that I gave. It's still something that I talk about a lot. And that was always my thing. Command your space. It's your space. You wouldn't let a bully come up and treat you awful in the schoolyard. You don't need to put up with that stuff in your space, right? Like give them somewhere to go.
Yeah.
And be salty if you have to. I'm okay with salty words. If you need to use the salty words are okay sometimes too. Because it's their truth, even though we're not necessarily seeing it. You know, my kids were seeing sometimes things that I couldn't see because it was their experience to have. I just needed to hold space, and it was their truth, and I had to support them, right? So, you know, that's good that you were able to support her, even though you were not necessarily having the same experience as her in that moment.
Since they were born, you know, I was always trying to get my house to be haunted, and nothing would ever happen. And then when my daughters were born, when Winter was born, was when things began. Things started getting a little odd, and we went through a period where we couldn't take any real pictures of Winter without there being orbs all through the photos. And a lot of people in the paranormal world will poo-poo away orb photos, but I got a lot of friends in that paranormal world that I've showed these pictures to, and all of them are like, those are unexplainable. And we're not phonies, you know. When you have shown up in your photos and you tell them to appear and it does.
That's it. Yeah.
So
exactly.
We went through that. We got to the point where we knew when we would take those photos. We knew when it would happen. So I would go, Kate, go like this and go, there's going to be one appearing right here in front of me, and it would appear behind her. And I'm like, it's messing with you. Like, we have these pictures of Kate going like this, but it's behind her in the mirror, which was weird, you know? So when that began is right when Winter was born. This is a crazy story. Like, we never really had any really cool ghost stories. This isn't a cool one either. This is not a great one to have, but it's real.
It's ours. It's our ghost story.
So I came home from work one day and I was exhausted. I went upstairs, and we used to have 2 big Brazilian Mastiffs. We had big dogs, and we had 2 kids at the time. So Kate's a new mom. Well, not a new mom. We have a son too, but new at this time. And she's exhausted. So she's sleeping on the couch. I come home and she's laying there with the girls. And I go, I'm going upstairs. I got to take a nap. So I go upstairs, and I'm laying with my back to the door, which there's this one spot in the house where everything always gets weird. And it's right outside my bedroom door. So I'm laying there with my back to that doorway. And you know when you go over somebody's house and the dogs are frisky, like they jam their nose like in your crotch, and you go, whoa, get out of here, to a dog? Something did that to me from behind. So I went to go to bed, and I'm laying in my bed, and I go, oh. I turn around like, hey, what's being friends back there? And there was nothing there. Okay, I thought it was dogs. So I turn around, and my dogs weren't even upstairs. So I run downstairs, and I go, Kate, I know you're not going to believe me, but I swear it felt like somebody touched me, like they were being fresh, and there was nobody there. And she turned pale as a ghost. She goes, same thing happened to me. I just didn't tell you. And she goes, I didn't think you'd believe me.
Yeah.
So we're laughing. We go, what do we got? Some kind of a butt ghost? I mean, that's not even a cool story. How do you even tell that to anybody? It's not great. Right. But then one day she calls me at work, and she's freaking out, and she goes, you are not going to believe the photo I just took. You got to see this. I can't wait till you get home. So she took a picture of Winter sleeping, and I could send it to you later on. There's a picture of her sleeping, and there's this giant orb like
well, you know
by her butt.
Kids, how they curl up on their belly and they tuck in their arms and legs, and she had her butt up in the air.
Yeah, and it almost looks like, we call it the fart ghost, because it looks like she's farting the thing, or it looks like it's coming at her. But either way, it's whatever was bugging us, I think. And then it went away. Yeah. And that was it. So, and then my daughter Samara, we used to have our computer in my kitchen at a little desk there. So I was sitting there. I was probably playing Candy Crush or some nonsense. And my daughter is riding around in the living room on a little choo-choo train. And she had a butterfly net. And she kept going, I got you. There's another one. I got you. And I was like, Mara, what are you doing? And she goes, I'm catching jellyfish, Daddy. Like in SpongeBob SquarePants, how they catch a jellyfish. So I'm thinking, oh, she's playing pretend. And then I'm watching her, and I'm like, Samara, can you see the jellyfish? And she goes, yeah, Daddy. And I go, where is there one? And I bust out my camera, and she goes, right there. And I snap the picture, and it's right where she's pointing. It's right there in the damn picture. So then I go, can you catch one? So I have a photo of her like this, and then she's got her arms crossed. And the thing is, there's a big orb right in front of her. And I'm like, I don't care what anybody says about this being dust or being a digital camera phenomenon, because we have
moisture.
We have orbs on film. We have them on the negatives.
Yeah. Because like Winter was born right when that transition was happening, when digital cameras just
and it was a new camera we were using. It was Olympus camera we were using. And we were thinking maybe this camera's broken. But on the film cameras, we had the same stuff.
And I find you can tell, like you can really tell the difference. I have a picture of my daughter as well too, and there's an orb, and it's massive, and there's just no denying what it is. Like, and I haven't shared it publicly, but I did share it with a couple of paranormal people, because you don't necessarily share the orb pictures because you don't want everybody poo-pooing the whole thing, right? Like, because you just know you didn't set it up. So I shifted and use a lot of I use up a lot of Polaroid film, and I use a Polaroid camera, and there's just no way you can't.
Where the heck you finding that film?
Well, thank you, Amazon. But I've got pictures like of shadow people that have shown up when I've done seances here in the house, and like during the seance, but we don't have anything that stays, like we're pretty clear about what our intentions are, but we've had orbs show up in the Polaroids as well too. So it's orbs are a thing. And I was just going to say too, it's interesting when your girls got older, did some of that slow down? Because I find once they get over 6, it tends to slow down when they're in school, and we really kind of dull that lights that we fit in, because we don't want to. We have to adjust to fit in.
Yeah,
until we're an adult, and then we don't care. Until we're an adult, and we go, take it or leave it. Here it is.
I just think it's your filter. Your filter filters things out. Like, there's plenty of stuff right in front of you you're not even looking at, and you always think of it. The best example is when you're driving and you go to take a picture. You ever take a photo from inside your car and you realize how disgusting your windshield is? You don't see that when you're driving. You're looking straight through it. So there's a lot of stuff all around us that we've just trained ourselves not even to pay attention to anymore. You ain't got time for it.
Yes, we don't have time for it unless you're someone like me, when you're standing in the hardware store trying to buy a bucket and you still see like someone's grandpa trying to get your attention. That's like, I'm just here to buy a bucket, dude. Like, I'm really, really sorry.
That's really cool though.
It is and it isn't. And it's funny because my kids know my towel, because I have a towel. And I drop my head and lift my shoulder up. And I do that like I'm kind of stretching out my neck. And they're like, oh, no, Mom, don't. No, please don't. We're just here for something else. Don't do it. But it is what it is. And I think that, again, it just makes it a little more normal. Like, and the language that we use, I think, is different too. The language that we're using around paranormal, or like the Ouija boards and stuff. When I was looking through the Talking Board Historical Society website, I love that you have all those old photos. And when I talk about Ouija boards, I talk like Norman Rockwell even has like a print that he made, right? Like, and it was just a regular normal thing. It was on dates, even during Victorian times, they would sit to ask them, the Ouija board a question. So I think that the way that movies have portrayed it, how it's been mass, I don't know, the fear and how that's been promoted has taken away from maybe what it's really about, right?
Right, the magical part of it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Superstitions ruined everything. Nobody likes black cats no more because of that. I love black cats.
Right? It's so funny because one of the things I had wrote down to talk to you about was like all the rules, and I've stuck that in quote, like the rules of a Ouija board. And, first, I'm still doing okay. And I have it, the house is fine. My kid's fine. My pet's fine. We don't have anything happening. So I think that what I tell people is, regardless of what tool you're using, you're opening a door. It doesn't matter what it is that you're trying to do, whether it's the Ouija board, it's me, if it's a pendulum, tarot cards, like we're trying to make a connection to the other side. So, the Ouija board doesn't hold anything extra powerful than anything else does.
So true.
You know, the website, the Museum of Talking Boards. I'm sure you've seen that. That's the oldest running exhibit for Ouija boards online. And it's run by a guy named Gene Orlando. He's like, we call him the wizard. Like everybody, even merch, when we all got into collecting Ouija boards, he was the guy we would go to for like all these collectible information. So he's the first person to really catalog them online. And Gene talks about when people say, you know, sometimes there can be a spirit trapped in the board. If you don't say goodbye, you're in trouble and all this stuff. And he would say, you know, if you were on the phone and you talk to a really, really bad person in prison on the phone and you just hang up on them without saying goodbye, are they trapped in the phone? No, they're not. There's nothing wrong with the phone either. It's just a piece of communication. That's it, you know, communication device.
I think for me, there's just a structure that I use anyway. Like when I'm giving sessions or doing sessions for people or doing a public event, there's just I've always looked at the people that I'm trying to connect with on the other side respectful anyway. It'd be no different than running into somebody that I don't know or just introducing myself for the first time. Like, hey, this is me. This is why I'm here, and I'm really freaking nosy. So get ready. I'm going to have 1,000 questions for you, right? So I think out of habit in who I am, it's always still like, hey, I'm here and goodbye, I'm done. But I mean, I've thought about it as, you know, like it's leaving your mouse open and the computer open if you leave the planchette on the board. But I know that I get caught up when people are leaving after a seance and I've left it sitting on top and nothing ever happens.
Right.
It's just fine. And I know that I've gotten a bit of flack for some people about investigating at graveyards as well too, or heading to the graveyard. But at the same time, that's what Victorians, it was like, that's where they went for lunch after. Like they would hang out with their family and stuff. So same thing, you know, it's not done disrespectfully, but we've certainly used the spirit board in the graveyard as well too, in the cemeteries.
Yeah, so people get touchy with the graveyard stuff, man. I mean, I can understand both sides of the argument. You know, a lot of people would be like, look, if you're not there to visit somebody that you love, then what the hell are you doing there? And I'm like, I don't know. I like the atmosphere. I just like the ambiance of a cemetery, the quiet.
And
I like, you know.
And
I don't,
so
I don't disrespect anything. I don't touch nothing. I don't mess with nothing. I'm just looking around, you know, and it's you know, but a lot of people I see online, I'm in part of a bunch of groups where if you take a picture in a cemetery, they'll reshare it all over the place. You go, look at this guy taking photos by a gravestone. It's like, okay, all right.
I don't.
But so you know, if that's so disrespectful, if visiting a cemetery to look around is so disrespectful, then what would you consider all those expeditions to the Titanic? Right? All those people, you're disturbing the dead left and right, making movies, filming it, digging stuff up, bringing it to the surface. Like it's the same thing. It's just curiosity.
My retort for that is also then like you're going to abandoned asylums and poking at people who were mentally ill for a response. How is that okay? Like, you know, how does that feel good? You know, I mean, we do it. Lots of people do it, but giving me a hard time about being at the cemetery and you're in an insane asylum or at an old hospital, how is that any different? It doesn't go well. I get a lot of people who say they can't talk to me about those sorts of things. And I'm like, okay. But I'm just really, and it's not that I do not enjoy arguments, but I want to have at least an open conversation about it.
Yeah.
And a lot of times it's the belief system that we were raised with as well too, or a belief system that we've chosen to have as we're adults as well too, right? And I think that we all have room to shift and learn and have at least be open-minded to different opinions and having the conversations.
Absolutely.
One of the questions that I had wrote down for you, Rick, was being a creative person, do you get pulled where your time is so pulled in one direction where you're doing the things that you're kind of obligated to be doing and you are really wanting to be doing how to make time to do what you're wanting to do or what you're getting pulled. Could you talk about like creativity and that aspect?
Yeah. You know, I've got an amazing wife, and she tolerates a lot of stuff. All right. And if it wasn't, we just filmed a TV show the other day, and I was saying to Kate, I go, this wouldn't have happened to me if there was no you, because I was always this way. I've always been a bit of a ding dong with all this stuff, and nobody was paying attention. When we became a family, people started to go, wow, how is a whole group of them the same way? And people just started paying attention for some reason. But I've always been the kind of weird dude, paranormal wasn't a word. When I was a kid in high school, I graduated in 1988. My high school had a section in the library that said Satanism and witchcraft. When we were kids, I would go right to the Satanism witchcraft section in Borders bookstore. That's what. And then over time, like 90s, they took that little sign off and it said metaphysical. Yeah. And then they would take the sign off and it would say New Age. And you're like, what's going on? It's the same books. They just keep calling it something else. And now everybody's like paranormal. I always say, you call paranormal, we call normal. It's just us.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that's why I'm so grateful to you, Kate, because I know that I sprung that on to you because, I had it in my thoughts. That I wanted to email and say, look, Kate really should be on because it's about family. You guys do everything in support of one another. So it was. If
it wasn't for Kate, there would have been no Ouijazilla, because nobody would have put up what I was doing to make that thing happen. I mean, I was working on it 7 days a week. I was never home. As soon as I was done tattooing, I was in the garage, and it didn't matter if it was 10 below. I was back there in a winter jacket trying to paint while the paint was freezing. It was an obsession. I had to get it done. I told people I was going to do it, and I saw the doubt in everyone's eyes. So I'm like, I have to do this now. And I was not home a lot, and Kate was really picking up the slack at the house. If there wasn't her, there would be no Ouijazilla. I needed a team.
Thank you, Kate. Right? Yeah, it is a team, but I love that. Like when you look at your photos on any of the pages, any of the social media that you guys have, you can see how much you guys respect and love, and you can feel that in all of those photos, which is it's beautiful. It's really beautiful. I just want to share, Kathy is just sharing something with us here too. I always thought I was weird because I always felt some sense of peace when in a cemetery or graveyard. I like to read the headstones and think about the life the person may have had and keep their memory alive. That's it exactly. And it's the art. Some like the symbols talked about. It shows what their life was about, and apparently
sounds the EVPs. Yeah, we used to go to cemeteries like in Salem. We would just go there and bring a digital recorder with us and just read the headstones, like how she was just saying. Just read the headstones, and this is Jennifer. She passed away, 1694 or whatever, and we would just go on. We go, hello. And then you'd hear these voices talking over your voices, but you'd have to turn it up really loud and listen through headphones, and you'd hear it. And we knew there was nobody in the area. We would do it real late at night when there was nobody there. And it really worked. We scared the hell out of our son. He hated it. Yeah. He's like, really? Stop? I don't even want to hear the recordings. He don't want to hear them.
Oh, no, that's so funny. I know my daughter's boyfriend doesn't want to hear. Like, he doesn't want to hear it. He's slowly getting, he's been around for 4 or 5 years now, so he's starting to get used to it. But it's been a slow process for him, for sure. When I go to the cemetery, but I can see them, like I can see that there's spirits there. So it's different. And 2 years ago, I had set out that I wanted to do, I called it the cemetery crawl. So I wanted to hit up as many pioneer cemeteries as I could and just see what kind of experiences we were having, my friend and I. And And that's how we did it as well too. It would be the EVPs, and you wouldn't hear it until you got home. Like we would just kind of like walk around, but I would see, and so we would go to that direction. But we've got some really neat videos and photos as well too.
Awesome.
Yeah. So I don't know if you know, but I'll share a tip that I learned. It's the back left corner of the cemeteries that have the most amount of like heavy stuff.
Really?
Back left corner.
How do you know which is the left though? I mean,
so wherever the entrance that's used the most, whatever is considered the entrance, you go to that back left corner. It's where tends to be the oldest parts. It tends to be where things get dumped. So if they gather up anything,
I know that well. Yeah, I'm a cemetery garbage picker.
Yeah, back left corner.
I don't know if you've ever seen where you are, but around here, I noticed like the groundskeepers in cemeteries, they're pretty lazy. All right. And a lot of times they'll take stuff and just, if you're in a cemetery that there's a hill or woods, they throw it all in the woods. They just throw all stuff. So what we do is we'll find the furthest corners of these big cemeteries and go in the woods. And I found broken headstones, all kinds of stuff. Because they'll replace a headstone and they'll just throw the other ones away.
The lanterns, they'll be like kind of like half broken or whatever, but they're just thrown over in the woods.
Yeah. The crazy thing is like you'll see where people will put objects like a toy or a little statue, and the grounds guys come through and they take all that away. They'll throw it all in piles in the woods, and I'm just like digging through them. I'm like, I wonder if any of this is haunted.
Yeah, take it home. Okay, so I just gonna do a quick shout out for the station for anybody that's just joining us now. I saw Contessa Martins. Thank you for joining us now. So if you are just tuning in to us, thanks for joining us here on Spirit Switchboard. I'm your host, Kerrilynn Shellhorn, and you are listening to us live on the United Public Radio Network and the UFO Paranormal Radio Network, 105.3 and 107.7 New Orleans. So I think that when I first was looking at having you on the show, like when the Spirit Switchboard is just new. Like I think I started in April, so like it's not been long running, right? But I think it was from actually last year. I've been making my list for a while of people that I really wanted to talk to, but I think it was a video or a post where you're like dumpster diving, and I'm like, you really are my people.
Yeah, man.
I'm like creating, repurposing, having fun, stuff that people get rid of. It's crazy.
Yeah.
Behind the Halloween stores, especially. We got the police pulled me over. We were leaving work last Halloween. It was about 1:30 in the morning. And behind those Spirit Halloween stores, I always hit the dumpsters, you know. And I pull up and Kate goes, all right, we'll check. So I check, I look, I go, nothing's in there. We got in the car and we leave. And all of a sudden, a police car comes flying past me on his way where I just was. And I go, oh, somebody must have called and saw me. So he goes all the way back and he turns around. And he comes back like 100 miles an hour. He comes flying up behind me and he pulls me over. And I go, I'm just curious why you're pulling me over, officer. And he goes, I saw you behind that shopping center and I'm pulling you over for nefarious activities.
I was like, ooh.
I go, nefarious activities. I go, I was just looking in the dumpster behind the Halloween place. He goes, oh. All right, you guys go. Just let me go.
I hate to be honest.
53-year-old man digging through the garbage for Halloween crap.
So funny. I think actually the video might have been like it was snowing or something. It was a little bit snowy. I think that was the video that I had saw that you guys did. I don't know. I don't remember, but it was a while ago, but I loved it. I just loved it and that's when, you know, too, like it's somebody that's super creative, somebody whose thoughts have 18 tabs open at all times. And that's exactly. Yeah. I'm there. I'm the same, and my daughter is probably the equivalent to you, Kate. My daughter is the one that can keep me grounded or focused, and she's the one that, you know, can harness it all in for me for sure. But so I want to come back to the Ouija boards and the talking boards or the spirit boards. Do you find like, why is it called the talking boards? Does it need to be called talking boards? Is the Talking Board Historical Society? Is it like, I don't know. I guess that's why Ouija's copyrighted.
Yeah, and so that's owned by Hasbro. It was owned by Parker Brothers. It was owned by William Fold before that. So it's like just keeps changing hands. But the word Ouija, technically nobody's really allowed to use unless you're referring to a real Hasbro Ouija board. You know, the rest of them are talking boards, spirit boards, witch boards. There's all different names for them, right? I can't even think of the other ones. But yeah, so we just went with talking boards because the history that we're uncovering is not just of that brand name, but everything related to that. So there was like the Swami board and the Simmons board, and the Kennard board. There's all of them. So Ouija is just one little tiny part of that history. The spirit boards, talking boards is the rest. Planchette.
Yeah. And not all the talking boards too use the planchette too. There's some that don't even have any.
Yeah, like the Pen G. Pen G board is like a pendulum. But on the Museum of Talking Boards, Gene has it as a Ouija board. So Gene says it's a Ouija board. I say it's a Ouija board. Right?
That's just how it is.
Yeah.
For him.
How it is. Yeah.
That's for him. I tend to use spirit board, I think, too. For me, it's always trying to find the term that's going to cause the least reaction. Like when you're trying to scope and feel out which direction we're going to go with the conversation, right? And because if you say Ouija, you can get some pretty strong reactions to it. And when you say spirit board, they're not quite sure what you're talking about, so they might engage with the conversation. So I'm sure talking boards is probably the same. I'm just going to.
The problem is if you're looking on eBay and you type in talking boards, you end up getting like computer crap comes up.
Oh, really?
Really?
Yeah.
I'm just going to move some of this stuff out of the way, and I'm going to pull this up. Contessa's saying, I love the energy on here today. And I'm just going to put this up for you guys to read too. I have an angel board, but it's used the same.
Yep. A friend of mine, she was one of the original members of the TVHS, right? Came up with that angel board. It was called the angel board?
I'm pretty sure it was.
Yeah, I think it was. Yeah, we own 2 angel boards. 2 of them. One has like a crystal, almost a crystal angel planchette. You remember that one? And I always wanted to have like a devil board or a demon board, but it just sounded hokey. It don't sound cool. I want like dark Ouija. Hexenbrett is witchboard in German, which is kind of cool. I wanted something sounding dark because unlike all of the people going in the mall and buying like books on Wicca, I wanted the scary stuff. When I see somebody doing magic or like wizard stuff in movies or television when we were kids growing up, it was always what people refer to as dark now. I always saw that as like that was part of the fun, was the spookiness to it, right? It was almost like just conjuring Halloween at will.
Yeah. Can you see do you want me to read this for you? It's from Ian. Can you ask Rick how he made a replica Ouija board for the Exorcist TV show?
Which one was that, Ian? The TV show was, the merch was on that one TV show. I made so many boards. I don't even know which one he's referring to. The replica of Ouijazilla, I made a bunch of those. That was one that I made exact replica, but I didn't never make replicas of anything else.
The whole cast side at the back of it. Sorry, I'm just going to put Ian's reply.
So and I get rid of them so quick. Like I'll sell them off, and then like years will go by, and somebody remind me I made something. I totally forgot.
Sign the back of it?
No, that wasn't me. That wasn't mine. No. Merch had. I think Merch owns the ones that were in the Ouija TV. I mean the Exorcist TV show that came out.
Yeah.
Merch has that.
So he didn't use one of your boards then?
No.
Contessa's just sharing. I also have spirit dice that a medium friend makes and sells.
Those are cool. I like the ones from what's the name of that company? The Hermes fortune telling dice. There's 3 of them, and they have like it looks like almost their weather reported things. It's like rain and sun and a cloudy day, and there's 3 dice, and one of them's like pink gold, one of them's silver, and the other's yellow gold. And I just never could afford those damn things. Even on eBay, they're like $300 for used ones.
Oh my gosh!
Yeah.
Really, eh?
Yeah, they're cool though. They're really cool.
When I was, I've taught a couple of different divination tools classes, right? And I have a bowl full of chicken toe bones for people that if they wanted to create their own runes with, right, too. And it really, it's very interesting when you are opening people up to, you know, just beyond the love and lighter stuff. When you're pushing them to be a little more open-minded to any of those things, right? And
where did you come up with the chicken thing? Is that like from like voodoo origins?
Oh, well, so if my dear friend Carol is listening, it would be from her. So yeah, she had given me dehydrated chicken feet to create protection for like in the house, like in the office, that sort of thing. And then it just sort of evolved from there into, you know, using the little tiny bones to create runes and use it for divination. Same thing. And it doesn't matter what you use, you can use it for divination. Like I learned from another medium that's close by too. Like because that's how it used to be in the Victorian times, right? Like everybody had to one up the other one down the street to draw them in. So, you know, how could they make it more elaborate? And that's how it really all was. And kudos to them. That's what I think. Kudos to all of them for doing that. And for sure the lines were blurred between you know, what was really coming through and then what was exaggerated and you know, to keep people coming. But she uses sand. She uses clay sand, and then she just gets people to put their handprint in it. But it's still all coming from here. Like it's still coming from that, you know. But the hand stuff is pretty cool as well too. Contessa's just saying chicken feet is used in folk magic.
A good idea for your friend to use. Let her know if she doesn't know about it. If you ever look online, you ever see star sand? I think it's from Japan. There's only one place in the world. And there's this beach, and the sand, when you look at it under magnification, they look like little stars.
Oh.
Cool. I see people selling that online. They'll sell like little, it looks like just buying drugs. It's like a little gram bag of sand.
That's funny. Yeah, people can sell anything. All righty. We're doing so good. I thought for sure in my ADHD-ness we'd be totally sideways with everything, but we're hitting all my questions, which is really good. And I had the butt ghost down on my list, so I'm glad that you got that.
That's funny.
Yeah. I had butt ghost written down. And you know what? Maybe it's the spirit of a dog. Who knows, right? It could have been a spirit of a dog.
Could be.
Yeah.
Because and from my understanding, dogs just do that to make sure that you're healthy. Like, you know, they can tell if you're good or not good when they're doing that.
You know, when if we go years back, when was the House of Schreck thing?
2018.
So 2018, when we were doing the House of Schreck thing with Nick Roth, they were going to come to my house to film, and I was cleaning out my closet that has all the Ouija boards and stuff in it. And in there was my digital tape recorder that we used to fart around with back in like 2002, 2003. Yeah, I just forgot about it, right? It's probably been in my closet for 20 years, right? And I'm thumbing through stuff, and I go, okay, I found the old recorder. Let's see if there's anything on here. Maybe we'll hear the girls talking because they're adults now, and hearing the cute little kid voices is so adorable. Yeah. So I popped some batteries in there, and I go, holy cow, I'm talking to Winter. And I don't remember this conversation at all, but I'm on the recorder and I go, what's the matter, Winter? And you hear her sweet little voice. She's like, I don't want to go on the stairs. And I go, what's the matter, honey? And she goes, I don't like the lady. And I go, what lady? And she said, she doesn't have a head. So Winter was like 2 years old, and she said she didn't want to go on the stairs to go up to her bedroom because there was a woman with no head. And I just happened to find that on a digital recorder. I didn't remember we had.
Yeah. I mean, Winter's always been afraid of the stairs.
Yeah.
That's just even you know, not to shut her out, but even to this day, she'll be like, "Did you turn the hall light off?"
Yeah,
no,
turn the damn hall light off when you go to bed.
But
I mean, I'm 52, and I have a light that I keep on as well too, even though that I'm saying, you know, don't touch me, you're not allowed in my room. Like, if you really got to be here, turn the freaking coffee on by 4:45, 5:45, you know, like that's kind of, but I still do, because it's it can be very, it jolts you, right? And when you're in that sleepy space, you're so vulnerable, and then you get shocked with those images. It's a lot. And I had this one dude. He was so they're pretty good. They don't come in my bedroom at all. But one night I fell asleep on the couch in the living room, and I was going out of town the next day to do a full day of sessions. And I woke up and it was 5 a.m, and this dude, this big burly dude, woke me up by yelling boo in my face to wake me up. And I remember calling him all kinds of salty words at that point, right? Like, you do not wake me up that way. I'm not working for a little while later. And so I head out of town, I start the sessions, and this woman comes in. I'm like, oh my goodness, I called your dad some really nasty words this morning at 5. I'm like, this is how he woke me up? And she's like, that's how he used to wake her up every day for school.
Oh my gosh.
Wow. So I think, and what I've learned too is sometimes they don't mean to scare us. And what feels heavy or feels angry or feels aggressive is because they've been trying so many subtle ways to get attention, and they haven't been able to get it. So it's that big stuff to get your attention, right? Yeah.
Right.
It's a lot. Winter's probably got lots of empathic, right? Just extra sensitive.
I would definitely say so. Even we went to Salem, but the first time we got those we did the aura photography in Salem, I believe 2010 maybe. And you know, our son did it, and Samara did it, and me and Rick did it, and we all kind of had like normal colors, but Winter's had a very big white spot. And I don't, you know, the woman had said that the white meant that she has somebody there with her always, right? That she had like a
yeah, she said a bunch of stuff that doesn't happen a lot,
especially with children.
Why wasn't mine cool? I want cool.
But it can shift and change, right? Like that's just what it was like in that moment. It doesn't mean like it's like that all the time. And I think some people get kind of caught up with those aura photos.
Yeah, it was just really fun. It was really cool.
Yeah, it is fun. My son did it. Like I did it with my children as well too. And my son was, I think, 15 at the time. He was really going through a hard time, and it was gray. It was all gray above him.
Oh wow!
So we did a whole bunch of you know, energy work with him and some other things, and then we did it again a few weeks later, and then it was like blues and purples above his head. Yeah. So he had shifted and was in a different place, and I think people need to remember that as well too. Contessa's just sharing, I can't be in silence. I always have background TV on stuff like Penny Dreadfuls or X-Files. I'm scared I'll hear something if it's too quiet.
That's me.
Kate watched The Ninth Gate over and over and over again. That's all she watches.
Favorite movie. I love that movie. I actually like going to sleep with the sounds of Saturn.
Yeah, she listens to planet sounds, which is crazy. I have to put in earplugs.
I don't know why I'm connected to it somehow. I've tried all the planets, and just for some reason, Saturn isn't even my planet, you know, with all the zodiac stuff. But I just love how it sounds. It's very soothing. And we would listen to, you know, that white noise too, because we would do like a ghost box or whatever. I could listen to that all night. And he gets frustrated because he's like, he starts hearing conversations. He's like, I need to sleep. Leave me alone.
So, you know, Nick had showed us that, you know, he had that Geoport thing, the ghost box that he uses a lot. So he, you know, he's just a good friend of ours. He had stayed at our house for a few days, and it was basically a little slumber party. We were playing with the ghost box in the house, and you know, it's really hard to convince me of anything, you know. So Nick busted that out, and I was like, all right, you know, we'll play with the thing for a bit. and we're sitting there, and it's just a bunch of random gibberish. And our dog was walking through, and I thought she was going to step on it, and the thing's expensive. So I was like, Lucy, come over here. Lucy, sit. And the ghost box went, Lucy. And I was like, holy crap. That was pretty cool. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So
it was really neat.
So, Nick had showed us how to do it using, the Bluetooth and our phone. Yeah. And we started using that thing to go to sleep to. So we would go to sleep to the ghost box every night, and we would film ourselves sleeping. So we film ourselves sleeping while that thing's running to see if we can get anything talking. And in the middle of the night, I don't know if I'm dreaming.
You'd see the dogs. You see both of our dogs look up, and they're like, because they hear the voice. They hear something right at that time. Like, it's crazy.
Yeah, I don't know if I'm in the middle of being awake or dreaming, or if I'm imagining it, but I'll be sleeping and I'll wake up to conversation. And one time I hear the noise, the gibberish, and I put the pillow over my head. And when I did that, whatever it was knew what I was doing, and it goes, "You're not going anywhere." And I was like, huh? Oh. And now I'm annoyed. So I get up and I'm going to turn it off. And another voice, the female voice, goes, "He deserves it." And I was like, "Well, deserves whatever." And I turned it off. I go, "Now you're off." And I tell her the next day, and she's like, "Are you trying to video it? Are you trying to record it? Like, are you writing it down?" And I'm like, "No, it annoyed me. I just want to go to sleep." Yeah.
So funny. So. That's how I feel too, though. If I'm on and in that space all day, I don't want it at night. I just, no, I don't. So I'm just going to do some sharing with some people here. Barbara McFarlane is saying, "Wow, I feel and catch glimpses of spirits with me in our house. I feel like these presences have followed me from house to house. I'm an empath intuitive, but have not really focused on these experiences." And I mean, I think that if we lean into it, it's a beautiful thing. It makes life magical. It just adds something magical to our lives, honestly. And I wanted to share what's Patty. Patty Williams. The other night, my husband had someone beside his side of the bed squeezing his full water bottle. He's kind of skeptical, but someone's trying to get his attention.
Yeah, maybe.
Kate's seen things standing over me when I'm sleeping, like they're angry at me and stuff. She'd freak out. She's like, "There was somebody just standing over me." I'm like, "Awesome."
It was a dark shadow.
So cool.
Yeah.
But does it feel angry, or is it just like frustrated that it's been trying to get your attention? I mean, how our own personal experiences that have happened to us will affect how we're perceiving that, other experience, right?
There's been times where I felt like there was something going on, and it was upset with me, or it was angry in one way or another.
But you naturally think that way.
I'm a stressed out, full of anxiety person.
And he's definitely more a pessimist than an optimist. Not in a bad way, but he thinks the glass is half empty, where I'm like more of a person that thinks the glass is half full. So maybe. But it is both. You're right. Both. But the way you think and the way I think, like you think it could be something negative, but that's just your interpretation of it. It may not be.
My daughter Winter always said, when she was saying that she thought ghosts were in the house, she would actually walk around the house with either my necklace, because I would take them off at night. She'd walk around with my necklace or my car keys, because she goes, "Dad, if the ghosts in the house hear you coming, they're scared." She's like, "They don't want to mess with you." And the thing is, the funny thing is she's not 100% off on that, because if I had the money and the wherewithal to do it, I'd be like the guy in the movie 13 Ghosts. I'd build a giant house trap, and I'd trap them all. I keep them for myself. Like, that's what I want. I want to really, like in Hellraiser 4. You ever seen Hellraiser movies? And Hellraiser 4, Bloodline, when they go all the way back to when the lament configuration was made, they would summon a demon, and they say, he who summons a demon commands a demon. He summons the magic, commands the magic. I want to be that guy. I want to be the old school wizard that's like, "I brought you in this world, now you got to listen to me," like my own personal genie.
Sometimes you need to be careful what you're wishing for.
Exactly. I tell him that all the time. Be careful what you wish for.
Yeah, you need to be careful what you wish for. And
in the 80s, I love all that. I love Poltergeist. You love Poltergeist.
Yeah, I love Poltergeist.
You saw that. I want my house to be Poltergeist.
To be moving around talking to me all the time.
the clown doll.
Then we'll give us something too.
And it's funny, like oh my goodness, the fellow who owns Skinwalker Ranch currently, his name is escaping me, and I don't know why.
I see that pop up in my newsfeed all the time. I don't know what that is. I don't know what Skinwalker.
So Skinwalker Ranch is a place in Utah that has all kinds of apparently UFO connections, cryptid things, and the government has researched it. And so the fellow that owns it just purchased the clown from Poltergeist, the original clown from the original movie. Wow. So he just purchased it. Yeah, he's kind of like a pop culture guy. So yeah, he just purchased it. Condessa is asking, can we really capture voices from a recording?
Mm-hmm. We definitely have. Yep.
Yeah. Yes, ma'am.
I first learned about it. We're going back to like 99, 2000 or something. But I first learned about it from a website called Voices in the Wind. It was a father-daughter team that was doing that. First time I had ever heard about it. That. And they had some incredible recordings, and that really got me hooked on it. I really wanted to do that. And yeah, it works. It's very easy too.
It is. And you catch things without even realizing it, right? Like, and it just, you could be talking your own conversation and then something's over top of you.
Yes.
Which is always fun. So Jen is sharing, I was at a funeral on Wednesday, and when I was viewing the picture boards, I felt a forceful shove from behind. I turned around quickly as I already knew it wasn't anyone near me. It felt different.
Well, sorry for your loss.
I know that when I'm working and spirits grab my arm to show me that they are trying to get attention, you can feel fingers, like it's cold fingers that go right around my wrist. And that's just my sign when they do that, so that I know that they're mucking about in the client's house. Like that they can do things to move things or shut electrical things off and on, like then they can show me what they're doing, right? So they can physically touch us for sure.
One thing
that's what you want. You don't want another butt ghost.
I don't want no butt stuff, but like if stuff wants to attack me, I mean, I'm not even lying, and I'm not trying to make light of anybody's experiences. I'm all for it. I really want to be convinced that stuff that we see in movies is based in some sort of reality. I want to see it.
And how much is it exaggerated in movies as well, too? Like the stuff that we see is exaggerated as well. I've had 2 experiences where I've been growled at. In one of those experiences, scratched as well too, and it still hasn't scared me. Like that, I'm aware of it now, so I know how I need to be in certain situations. But it hasn't. It wasn't. I have a healthy respect, I guess, is the right way to put it. But I mean, the things that scare me, what I am scared of is stairs with no risers. Like if I can see through like those metal grated steps and I can see through it and there's no, no. My hands are sweaty just talking about it. It's gross. Gross. No. And that was something that I wrote down actually, is if there was anything that does scare you, if somebody else in the house has to take like care of the spider that shows up, or is there anything that,
Heights.
We have pet tarantulas.
Heights. I don't want to go up on my roof. I don't want to go up on the roof. That's it.
Heights.
I'm scared. I'm scared of heights big time. Yeah. Big time. And it's funny because I went bungee jumping 3 times when I was in my 20s out of a hot air balloon. And I did it because I was scared of heights. But now I think about it, I've had nightmares about it. I have nightmares about jumping out of the balloon and I'm not attached to stuff. Like, I did it, but it kind of wrecked me for a minute.
And I wonder, like, does it change when we become parents? Like, so like those fears, it all shifts once we're parents and we're having to be responsible.
Yeah, I'm not afraid of heights, but if I see Winter or Samara or Kyle, like when they were younger, not so much now when they're older, but my knees would get weak if they were too close to the edge of something, or like I thought they might get hurt, or even when I watch him when he's putting the Halloween decorations up and he just flies up and down the ladder. I know he's fine, but like sometimes when he's making a certain move to like move his leg around, my knees get weak.
Yeah, I couldn't watch my kids. Like I have 3 boys and 1 girl, and I just chose to not even look because I was scared my fear would get projected and cause the issue.
Right.
So I just made sure I was not, because, and my kids would share videos of what they were like skateboarding down these wicked hills on a bend with no helmet. And I'm like, I don't even want to see. I just don't even want to see till after, tell me later.
Right.
Melanie is I'm just going to put Melanie's comment up for us. How do you engage when something like that happens, when something touches you? I feel brushes and light pushes occasionally, and it makes me wonder for sure. And then she's just continuing here. Certainly changed for me. My fears are definitely more so than before children. Yeah. I think for me, I am very clear about, I know that I have like this divine team, whoever they are. And when people ask me what my spirit guides' names are, or if I'm in a session, I always just tell them Bob, like, because I don't really care. Everybody's Bob. We're just going to call them all Bob. But Bob's there to hang out and get in between us if something goes sideways, and Bob just takes care of it. So kind of like your daughter saying like, she's using your stuff like a rosary. I'm just going to put this, the power of Schreck compels you. We're going to move it out of the way. So I think trusting that we're not doing things alone, that do you have a thought about that you'd want to share?
I definitely, I know I'm always in the care of, something bigger than me. It's, Mother Nature, and just how the inner workings of just how the earth spins and how the stars are in the sky and like how flowers grow. Like there's definitely some kind of power there, that mother earth or whatever. So, and I honestly believe what will be, and if, not that my destiny is already set, but whatever happens, I'm going to face it and I'm going to get through it. So.
And you? So do you have a different perspective?
Then what?
Optimist, pessimist.
No, that's exactly where I was going to go. So I think that, we certainly have free will, right? We certainly have free will. And I think too, like intention matters. Like if you set out to have a certain experience, that's the experience you're going to have. Right? Like,
yeah, I honestly believe it's all coming from what's projected from your heart. All right. The words, and a lot of people disagree with me on this, but the words don't matter. Words don't matter at all. It doesn't matter if you're Jewish, Christian, if you're Wiccan, if you're Buddhist, or if you're just sitting in an AA meeting saying the Serenity Prayer. If you say those words and it makes you feel a certain kind of way where you're projecting that positivity and love out into the universe, that's the magic you're creating. It's not the words. The words don't matter because it's just stuff that's you're uttering out of your mouth. It's how you feel, So I honestly feel that like I don't have a true evil or darkness within me that I project out into the world. I do project positivity, creativity, and love. And a lot of stuff I do is all tongue-in-cheek jokes. I joke about everything. It's almost like nothing is serious to me. I've always been a clown. And so I joke a lot about the afterlife or paranormal stuff because I have no fear of it. I have no fear of it at all. I know it can't hurt me. Nothing can hurt me. Nothing I can't see in ghosty world can hurt me. Can't touch me, can't do nothing. Maybe touch my butt, but it's not going to do nothing to me. And and this is just deep, silly conversations like for another time. But Kay and I don't really believe in good and evil. I believe in correct and incorrect. But when you ask people all over the planet Earth what's good and evil, you're going to get a billion different definitions. Evil's like what you find unpleasant, and good's what you find pleasant. It's really the way to wrap it up. And so to think an act is truly evil or good from an entity or something, it just sounds weird to me. It's just things are either correct or incorrect in human world. Everything else is what it is. It's nature.
Mm-hmm.
And what nature does is correct, whether we like it or not. You know, a hurricane comes here and wipes out New Jersey. It's not evil. It just is. It is what it is.
Yeah.
It's nature.
I know when I'm doing public events, sometimes in the personal sessions when stuff is coming through, or that I share, like the spirits that are coming through that have done harmful things, right? Or the ones that come through with addictions, they're really my favorite people that come through. And everyone kind of looks at me like horrified, but I'm like, they come in honest, transparent about their shite. They show me how they've been healing their stuff on the other side. So what we were perceiving as heavy isn't feeling heavy to me because they're coming in light and they just had this journey, right? So they're kind of those favorite places for me to go. And I think too, your thoughts, words, deeds, and actions all have to be in alignment, right? And if you're extra sensitive, you're going to feel like you could say something, but if you're not really feeling it from your heart space, people are going to feel that. You're talking a good talk, but you know that energy is not lining up with it, and you can tell.
Right.
Yeah, hey, I'm a constant movie nerd reference type of guy, but
love it.
And Hellraiser 2. Hellraiser 2, Dr. Channard. Dr. Channard is a guy, he wanted so bad to experience hell that he had all those boxes, and he ran a mental institution, and he had all the people there trying to solve the boxes for him. And one of the patients does, and the demons show up, and the demons don't go after her. They said, no, stop. They said, it's not hands that call us, it's desire. And that's the way this whole game is. It's not the Ouija board that's working, it's the person. It's your desire there.
And your energy. So I have a question I want to ask you, but I just want to get Ian's question up for you. If someone wants to get involved with the Talking Board Historical Society, how would they go about doing that?
We got a Facebook page for TBHS, and we also have tbhs.org. And you can message us anytime. We're always looking for people to get involved. Thanks for that, Ian.
Connor Randall, he did an experiment. He created like a spirit board, and he did the letters all jumbled. So so the letters were all jumbled, and then he blindfolded the people, and then asked the question, and then they did it. So like, it's still coming from us. Like, I agree with you. Like, it's still, that energy is still coming from us. So it shifted when you moved the letters and you put the mask on, for sure. It's changing the ability to, out of memory, maybe pushing to it, but it's still that energy coming from us that's going to pull towards us the answers. I find when I use it, though, it's hard to explain. I can feel when the energy is in me. So like when I'm channeling out stuff and when it's going to the board, I don't, it's like a push-pull energy, and I can feel when and it will shift to the other paranormal equipment that we may have up in the room as well too. And sometimes they don't even want to use the board. I'm like begging for the board to, like, I just want that planchette to shift right across the table, and it just sits there. It just sits there. Have you made a board like that where it's like, is it always consistent? Is it the same, how the layout with the letters and the numbers?
The stuff I always use the layout that's like the old William Fold boards. I actually use a Kennard board as a model for all the stuff that I do, which is, from 1890, blah, blah, something or other. But it's one of the oldest ones I have. It is the oldest one I have. And I use that for my embalming table ones and everything else. I use the Kennard board. So I just like the layout. It's very simple letters. Yeah, I make my letters a little bit more crazy. They have like swirls in them because I like the whole vortex thing. So my old Schreck talking boards, they all have these really cool swirly letters.
One of the questions I had wrote.
I made a Braille board. In fact, I'm making another one right now. I made the first ever Braille board. And it was tricky designing a planchette that would work for that. Because you're thinking, you got to use your finger to feel, so you can't have a standard planchette that's all high up. So it's actually a planchette low, and there's little holes drilled into. It's two pieces of wood sandwiched together. So the first one has holes in it, and they're all sanded in a way so when you're moving your hand, your finger goes right into the hole.
Oh, that's brilliant.
It's very clever.
Clever.
Very clever. I love those 18 tabs that are open in your head that gets to that, right? Yeah, it's brilliant. So that was what.
How did you think of that?
Right? Yeah, and we appreciate it. We appreciate how your brain works.
Very much.
Yeah.
I have a couple that I'm stuck on right now. I actually had engineers trying to help me, and they're like, Rick, you're coming up with impossible ideas. I'm like, I'm going to make it happen.
If you think it's not impossible. It's not impossible. Right? There's a solution. It just hasn't come. It's divine timing, right? The divine timing, it will happen when it's supposed to happen. One of the questions I had wrote down.
In my imagination, it goes way beyond the periodic table. I'm inventing elements that don't exist on my board.
Yeah. I love it. One of the questions I had wrote down for you was if people donated materials for creating a board. Have people ever brought stuff and said, hey, I'd like,
Ouijazilla was 100% donated stuff.
Well, no, that's not what I mean. I mean, like the embalming table. So has anyone, contracted you or asked you to make like a custom board for them and brought something to you to use?
Yeah, I make custom boards all the time, but it's all stuff I provide. Nobody's ever really given me anything that they wanted out of a custom board. Tim Shaw gave me pieces of a haunted house that I'm going to make into a planchette.
Yeah, that's awesome. Like that's where I'm going. That's awesome.
Oh, Robert Murch had given me, many years ago, probably 10 years ago, he gave me, I think they're wooden shingles from Charles Kennard's house. So I'm going to make Ouija planchettes out of that too. So he made the Kennard Ouija board. So I get some old stuff. Get some things in the works.
That's super fun. So where can people connect with you? Where can they find
me if you're in New Jersey, House of 1,000 Tattoos, 732-752-1008 or houseof1000tattoos.com. Did Winter open that up? Mm-hmm. Hallelujah. You can learn all about the Talking Board Historical Society at tbhs.org. And I have Facebook pages for everything. Just Google my name, you'll find it. I got like 4 Instagrams, 3 or 4 Facebooks. Yeah, lots of stuff.
You truly are. You're kind of like all over, and I think that's important because you've done so many different things. So it's how people have connected with you. So if they search that, they're going to find you and all the other things, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah, this was brilliant. Thank you so much for spending so much time with me tonight.
Thank you.
I just want to let everyone know. So next week on Spirit Switchboard, I have Mark Ireland. He'll be joining me. He is the author of Soul Shift: Finding Where the Dead Go, and his recent book release is The Persistence of the Soul. He's also co-founder of Helping Parents Heal. It's an organization with more than 25,000 members that assist bereaved parents. So I would really like to thank you guys again. Thanks so much for being here. Thank you to all of the listeners, people who engaged in the conversation and asked questions. And a big shout out to the UFO Paranormal Radio Network and the UFO or the United Public Radio Network 105.3 and 107.7. Thanks everybody for being here, and we'll chat again next week.
Can you give me one more shout out? Don't go nowhere. Don't go nowhere. Go on Halloween, 3 p.m. We're going to be on Kelly Clarkson's show.
Yes. Oh, sorry. I meant to ask that too, like all the secret. And if there's something that you wanted to shout out, can you shout out about why there was a German company hanging out, film crew?
Oh, yeah. We've done 2 times. We've filmed for ProSieben. That's the name of the channel. One was for a TV show named Taft. They just looked me up online and they contacted me because Schreck, Schreck, is German for bringer of terrible news or to frighten people. So I don't know. For some reason, the German TV shows are interesting.
That's so funny. Yeah. Thanks so much. So follow along on social media and you'll see everywhere that you can watch where you're going to be next. Have a good night.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah. No, thank you so much. Bye, everybody.
Take care.